You see all this equipment right here on the table? Yeah, we posted links to all of it right on our blog. So head on over there and we'll see you guys next week on our next live stream video every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and Facebook. And this live stream is going to be all about cameras and lenses. So you're definitely not going to want to miss this. Can you guys hear me okay? Leave a comment if you can hear me okay, because I just want to make sure you guys can see. What are they saying, G? Because I can't see.
I think they are.
Huh? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, guys, we're going to give people a few minutes to kind of get in on, yeah, you can start running Facebook. We're going to give people a few minutes. I got all my equipment, cameras, and lenses here today, so we are literally going to be breaking this down into just everything. We're going to talk about cameras, what lenses I'm using for the ceremony, for the reception, for getting ready. We're going to talk about why I switched to Sony from Nikon, because you know that was definitely a big change. So let's give like one more minute and we're going to jump into it. By the way, if you guys have questions, start leaving your comments below. If you gotta sign out because you can't stay and watch this for the next 30 minutes, then just know that John is literally standing right behind the phone right now, and he's gonna put together a nice little recap that will upload to YouTube, okay? So, should we go, G? Start?
Maybe give it another minute.
Another minute?
There's still people coming.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome to today's live stream. Thanks for tuning in. I'm really excited for this live stream today because you guys have been talking about what cameras I use, what lenses I use for the longest time. So it's time to officially let me show you, okay? All right, so let's get started. Let's not waste any time. Okay, so let's talk cameras, okay? So as you guys know, I've been shooting Nikon I was shooting Nikon for about 10, maybe even 11 years, and in the past 2 to 3 years is when I had officially made the switch to Sony. And, you know, as a professional photographer, you have to understand that our cameras, like just one camera body alone, could be around $3,000, not to mention all the lenses and everything that you're gonna need. You're gonna need at least the 5 main lenses that we're gonna talk about today. There's 5 lenses that you have to have in your camera bag. So, you know, if you decide to go from one brand to another brand, you're dropping at least probably around like 50 grand. Just to like update your equipment and to have like the latest technology. So for me, when I decided to go from Nikon to Sony, it was kind of, you know, a slow transition. I didn't just immediately one day wake up and say, today I'm gonna, you know, sell all my Nikon equipment and buy Sony. It wasn't like that. What it started is that Sony at the time, like 2 years ago, they came out with the Sony a7 II. And for cinematography, for video that you guys know, I don't just do photography, I also shoot video. You have to understand that when they came out with this camera, it like revolutionized our industry for filmmaking. It was an amazing camera with great ISO that was also at a really good price. And it was one of the cameras that did 4K. The resolution was amazing. It was a mirrorless camera. And everybody just immediately that was in video started gravitating towards it. So I basically went in and bought 3 Sony a7 II cameras and started working with it on video. Now, because I wasn't 100% sure at the time if I wanted to fully switch to Sony, and Sony didn't have like all the new glass, like the G Master glass that we'll talk about today out as yet, I basically chose to, you know, shoot with my Nikon glass, and I had just used one of like the Metabone adapters on it and shot with Nikon glass for about a year. And it worked out great, but at that point, once you know something's working and you kind of need to start looking ahead to see what's coming out next, 100% Sony it hit the nail on the head. I mean, they were like literally right on the path of what was coming out next. So that's when, in the past 2 years, is when I fully made the switch, sold all of my Nikon gear, and decided to just 100% go to the Sony platform. So kind of breaking it down as to what lenses I have, what cameras I have, where I'm using it, why I'm using certain lenses for the ceremony versus reception and getting ready and so forth. We're gonna kind of break down my 5 main lenses and the 2 cameras that I always carry with me. Now, just to say this, that if you aren't shooting Sony, it's okay. Like, you don't have to have Sony to get the photos that we capture, to get the lens, you know, you don't have to have even these particular lenses to get all the same shots. You know, some people, for example, might not have a 16-35, but maybe they have a 14 millimeter. Like, there's still workarounds from it. So don't think that you need to go out and like buy everything tonight in order to get some of these same shots. There are workarounds. So definitely, as we're going through this, if you guys have any questions, just leave a comment below, and Gigi's over here polling any questions that you guys leave. We're writing it on the board. So this way we'll jump in and answer them as we're going through. Okay, so let's talk cameras. So I carry 2 cameras with me at all times. And one of the ways that I'm able to do this is I use these camera straps. Now, as important it is for your cameras, it's also very important to be carrying them with you at all times. This is also one of the main reasons why I actually bought these cameras, is because I had a camera stolen while I was working one day. And, you know, ever since that day when that happened, when I was on a shoot, I was like, no, these cameras literally need to be like strapped to me at like 24/7, like 365. So from these cameras, these are, which ones am I using now? These ones are the hold fast ones, okay? They're leather. By the way, we have on our blog, Gigi updated it. I actually didn't tell her that I was going to talk about my camera straps, so she's going to actually add the link on there. But if you guys go on the blog, you're going to see all of the links to everything that I'm talking about today there. So if you guys want to see it, feel free to visit our blog, SuzanneDelawar.com, hit the blog, you'll find the article. But yeah, so these camera straps are made by Holdfast. They're leather. Honestly, there's a lot of great camera straps, so you guys can really use whichever one that you want. I personally just like these because they're leather. I'm doing high-end weddings. They look good. I mean, in this case, looks do matter. So that's why I chose these ones. But there are other options as well, because these ones I believe are around like $400, which I know is a very hefty price for camera straps. But to be honest, like I said, for me, I really went for them also for the look. I also find them to be very comfortable. And I'm just gonna do a quick runway walk right here, just so you guys can see. Okay, let me come around the table. I'm gonna model them for you so you can see. Now I know how clients feel when we have them modeling for pictures. But yeah, and then you basically can just use these little clips right here. This screws onto the bottom of the camera, and that's how you're basically able to connect it right on here, okay? So yeah, so these are the camera straps that I use for everything. Now talking about cameras, the 2 cameras that I'm using right now is the Sony A9, and I'm also using, which is this one right here, and then I'm also using the Sony AR7 III, okay? And the reason why I have these 2 cameras is for 2 different reasons. I don't believe in buying 2 of the same cameras. When I had said earlier for video that I had bought, 3 of the AR7 IIs, that was different because when you're doing video, you want to use the same camera, so this way every camera has the same look. But photography, I find it to be a little bit different. You actually want a camera for different situations. And here's what I mean. When you're shooting a ceremony or a reception, especially receptions where they can be very dark, you want to have a camera on you that has amazing ISO, to be able to use the camera in low light situations. So that's like critical right there. The second camera that you're going to want is something high megapixel, which is a camera that you'll use for the formals. So again, the camera that you're using that has like a good ISO, that's the camera that you're using actually the majority of the day to do, to shoot your ceremony, to shoot the main shots in the reception, especially if you want shots with like great ambiance and stuff in where you're going to be working your ISO or using a slow shutter speed. That's really what you want to use that camera for. And then your second camera, you want to use something that has like a really great megapixel. So when you're doing the more formal traditional photos of, let's say, the couple together, or like the couple with the wedding party, or the couple with their family, like those ones are going to be the shots they're going to be using for albums or prints. So to me, I always want the highest resolution image that I can possibly have, and that's why my second camera is always something that has a really high megapixel. So the A9 camera, first, just talking about this, the A9, if you guys aren't familiar with Sony, is the best when it comes to low light. And one of the main reasons why I love to use it is not only because the ISO is really good, but this particular camera, when it comes to wanting a shot, like when it comes to wanting a camera that never goes out of focus, this really is the camera that does it. I would say, for example, if I'm shooting a bride, you know, coming down the aisle, or if I'm doing the first look where I see the bride and she's walking towards, you know, her fiance, one of the best, you know, one of the problems that I feel like as photographers that we run into is the fact that, you know, you might get one photo, you know, sharp, the next photo you get might be a little blurry, the next photo then might be, you know, a little soft, and the next one sharp. With this particular camera, the continuous focusing that it has, I literally never miss a shot. So that also is just another point as to why I also switched to Sony, is because with Sony, I never miss shots, especially when I'm shooting with the A9 camera, okay? And again, you really want something, you know, you have to have two cameras as a photographer. It's not an option, okay? If you're a professional wedding photographer and you're going out to a wedding with one camera, that is a big, big no-no. Because have you guys ever seen that video I posted on Instagram not too long ago where it was like the photographer and she was basically walking backwards taking pictures after the bride walked down the aisle, and then she fell literally into the water? Yeah, I don't remember, but I don't think she had another backup camera. So you have to think about those things, because that could be very, you know, traumatizing to even like a couple. You know, that if you are walking, I mean, go on YouTube, you guys can see these fails. Maybe we'll add a few, John, you know, in the video so you guys can see. I mean, things are gonna happen. Whether if maybe you trip and your camera falls on the floor, maybe you trip and you fall into water and then one of your cameras is messed up, you have to have a backup. Okay, so please don't, like, that's why I feel like these camera straps that I'm showing you, they make it with two. I mean, I know you can buy it as one, but I feel like they really sell the ones that are two, because they're also like subliminally telling you guys that you have to have at least two cameras when you're shooting, especially, like I said, when you're shooting a wedding. You never know. I was doing a wedding maybe like 3 weeks ago, and when I was doing the formals, maybe John can add this clip in because I think we were filming at this time, but when I was shooting the formals, my camera just like completely froze. I have no idea why. I tried resetting it. I ended up realizing that Sony that day had put out a firmware update, so I needed to update my camera, but my camera just froze. But honestly, I wasn't worried because I had my trigger on the other camera and I just kept shooting. So these are the things that I'm talking about is, you know, being a professional photographer is being also a very prepared photographer and being prepared to, you know, handle any situation with a smile on your face and not, you know, let the client see that anything's fazing you, okay? So again, two cameras, always have two cameras, not an option as a professional. For me, I recommend picking a camera that's really good with ISO, and then, you know, something that you can shoot the majority of the ceremony and reception with. And then the second camera that I would recommend is going to be a camera that is, you know, honestly really good with high megapixels. So when you are doing those formal shots, you're still getting beautiful, crisp, sharp images in this video. So you guys need to definitely watch our YouTube video as well. We'll add in some examples of just how sharp the Sony AR7 you know, 3 is when you zoom into it and why you need it for the formals, okay? One question that somebody's asking is, I do photo and video and have a Nikon D750, D7500, which should be my next camera? Okay, so that particular model, I believe, is one of their prosumer cameras. So I would definitely recommend, like, I don't think that one is like a high megapixel camera. If that camera, as an example, is really good in low light, I would recommend getting, I don't know, I think the Nikon's latest camera that has high megapixel would really be like the D850. So I would really look into something like that, because when you're doing formals, like I said, you really want the opposite. You don't want to buy the same camera, because the same cameras will do the same thing. You want to have, you know, different tools for the job. You want to have different options depending on, you know, what it is. So Again, you guys need to get a camera for photography that's really great with ISO because we're doing weddings and events and you never know when it gets dark. You need to be able to work the ISO, and your second camera should be something that you're more focused on for your creative portraits of the couple. That's hands down critical, okay? So now let's start making the transition into lenses. By the way, loving the questions. If you guys have more, definitely leave a comment below. Gigi's polling it, writing. We have like this nice little whiteboard right here to the side of me, and literally we're just kind of jotting everything down. I see you guys are writing stuff, so is it okay? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more. Let's go into detail about lenses, okay? Now, as a wedding professional, there are 5 main lenses that you have to have in your bag. Like, it's not an option. It's just like the 5 main lenses that you need to have in your bag, okay? Number 1, every photographer, a lot of people always ask me, Suzanne, I'm a photographer, I want to be a photographer, and I'm deciding what to buy as my first lens. What should I buy? For me, I always say you need to buy a 24-70. Okay, I know it's not the most fun lens, it's definitely not the most creative lens that you can use, but it's a standard lens and it's a safe lens in the sense of that if you need to do a wide group shot, you can do it. If you need something a little tighter, you can do it, especially if you really put the money into it and you get a 24-70 that is 2.8, then it's also something that will be good in low light. So hands down, if you're out to buy your first lens, get a 24-70, okay, because it's something that you're gonna need. Just talking about lenses, I want to put a lot of emphasis on lenses. You have to understand that when you're buying into a system, like if you're someone that shoots Nikon or Canon or Sony, and you're buying into a system, especially if you're starting out for the first time, I will say the most important thing that you can invest your money into is going to be your lenses, okay? The great thing about lenses too is if you look at camera brands over the years, you're gonna find and you're gonna see that a lot of camera brands don't update their lenses that frequently. They might update it every 5 to 7 years. And the reason why that's important is because think about cameras. They're putting out new cameras maybe every 2 or every 3 years, depending on the brands now. Every brand this year had come out with a brand new camera in 2018. So you want to keep that in mind because it just shows that if you put your investment in lenses, you'll realize that these lenses will be with you for a very long time. When I was shooting Nikon as an example, I think in my entire career of like using it for 10 years, I only towards the end of my 10-year career with Nikon said, you know what, I need to start upgrading my lenses because they had finally come out with newer versions of these lenses. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind, you know, when you are thinking about, purchasing lenses, that you really want to put that investment in the product. In many ways, you want to have better lenses than you do have a camera, than your camera bodies, just because your lenses will last you way longer than your camera bodies will, okay? So 24-70, hands down, if you need to buy one lens, get a 24-70. It's standard, it's safe, whether if you're doing events, portraits, like it's just a standard lens. It's not really like an option. It's just the best one that you can get that you would be able to use for everything, okay? Next lens that I would probably put as like a solid number 2 would be if you're doing events, you definitely have to, invest into that 70 to 200 because a lot of clients are going to want, with the trend right now of couples really want those photojournalism, those in the moment style shots. The only way that you're gonna get that is going to be from using a 70 to 200, okay? Or some kind of like zoom lens, whether 100 millimeter, a 135, like you need to have a zoom lens. So 70 to 200 is standard in the game. So I would highly recommend, like I said, putting the money in it. And like I said, guys, I started off too, when I started, I didn't go out one day and just buy all of this stuff. You buy little things over time. And remember too that a lot of this stuff now is very easy to rent. There's companies like Borrow Lenses or Lens Pro To Go, I think is the other one, that you can go on and rent a lens and they like deliver it to you and you can rent it for 3 days. Keep those little things in mind because, having the best gear is definitely going to elevate the quality of work that you have. Having a great eye is important, and knowing how to train your eye to see when you're capturing a great shot is one thing, but definitely the gear and the right gear to have will also help to make your photos look even more spectacular. Okay, so very important note. So 24 to 70, 70 to 200, critical lenses. For me, I've always said the 50 millimeter was my favorite lens, and it really is because I just love the 50 millimeter f1.4. This lens is amazing in low light, and I really do love it for just like really close-up shots or in the reception. Oh my gosh, in the reception, it's definitely my favorite because in the reception, I always try not to use light just because I really want to capture more of like the ambiance and everything of the wedding. And so hands down, 50 millimeter would be the next one that you have to get. Fourth lens, which I find from a formal perspective, since I'm really big into like wide shots and showing like the scenery or showing the location that we're at, would 100% be the 16 to 35. I love using it, and all of the lenses that I am using are also G Master lenses. So, you know, it basically is, you know, more expensive glass. So these are like the best lenses that Sony has to offer. And 16 to 35 is one of my favorites to use. And then the last one that is also a really great lens is going to be the macro. You know, the macro lens, I don't use it for everything. This is a 90 millimeter. I think earlier I said it was 100, but I was getting confused of when I used to shoot Nikon because that one was 100 millimeter. But this 90 millimeter, so you might have to update. You're gonna have to update the blog. Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. See, G's already ahead of the game here. But yeah, so the 90 millimeter macro lens is also a really fantastic lens. And this one, honestly, I'm actually using it really just for like detail shots. So the ring shots that I'm doing, we'll add a link in here so you guys can see a tutorial that I did not too long ago, you know, showing how I do my water ring shots as well. And that's pretty much what I'm using this for details, for ring shots. Usually like getting ready prep or during like the reception if I need to shoot like the, what is it? I feel like we're playing gestures right now. On the table, the invitation, not the invitation, the menu. Yes, the menu. When you're shooting the menu, that's also when I'm using this macro lens. So yeah, I mean, these are really like the main lenses that I'm using. So again, 24 to 70, 50 millimeter, 70 to 200, 16 to 35, and of course the 90 macro lens for your tight, super close-up shots. A lot of people ask me if I use like 85 millimeters or 35 millimeters. I do, but not as much as I would probably even like to. I find for a lot of the weddings, you know, time is always of the essence. Like I don't want to say every bride runs behind, but a lot of weddings I do, you know, we are running a little bit behind time. So, you know, as all weddings really are. And I just kind of find myself that I don't really lean towards the 85. I rather lean more towards like the 50 millimeter because I feel like it's a good like balance. I will say that if I'm doing more of like, if I have the time with a couple to do more like detailed portraits, or if the couple is really into, you know, more like tighter shots of them together, then definitely hands down using like an 85 millimeter is just like perfect for like gorgeous shots. By the way, Gigi's also writing in some more questions that you guys, you know, are, you know, typing in. So definitely any questions, leave the comments below. I see some more coming in on, is that Facebook, G? I don't know if there's
Instagram.
The one on this side.
Yeah, that's Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Or wait, this one's Instagram, that one's Facebook.
That one's Facebook. Okay, so yeah, so any questions you guys have, just keep writing them and we'll answer them. But yeah, I mean, lenses, this is pretty much everything that I'm using. And this is like all of like my go-to stuff. So just let's kind of jump into, from a lens perspective, what's my favorite go-to lens for ceremony, go-to lens for reception. For ceremony, I would always say a 70 to 200, just because I think the ceremony is a very intimate moment in a wedding, and I find that I don't necessarily want to be so on top of people. Like, I want to be very like low key. I want to basically be like a ninja at the wedding where they don't see me. So if you ever see me at a wedding, chances are you're going to see me like crouching down behind something so I am not seen. Of course, I'm always in the center of the aisle when they're walking down, but understand that when couples are at very big, you know, churches, as an example, you need a 70 to 200 just to get her close up while she's at the door, you know, walking down. So that's why you also need, as a reminder, a 70 to 200 lens if you are doing weddings, because hands down, I mean, you really can't, you know, shoot a ceremony without it. Not to mention, from a photojournalism perspective, it's also really nice to just be able to like capture just close-up shots in the moment, you know, while these moments are happening. Like, you can't do that with a 24 to 70. A 24 to 70, I would literally have to like, you know, be right here next to the person getting, you know, a close-up shot. So just that zoom, you know, is number one for me during, you know, the ceremony. As far as reception goes, like I said, 50 millimeter for me is definitely my favorite. I mean, it's, like I said, I love being able, most of the weddings that I do, I don't like to use, most of the weddings I do, I don't really like using light in the reception because I really like to capture the ambiance. I even like, you know, seeing some of like the grain in the image, even though the Sony A9, I really never have any grain unless the room is like extremely dark, to the point of where it's almost pitch black. But honestly, I really just like to get more of like the ambiance and the mood and stuff in. And like I said, guys, you know, if you have some time, definitely, you know, we'll be posting this recap video, and throughout the video, we'll definitely put some, you know, different photography shots that kind of match what I'm talking about. So this way you guys can kind of see what kind of images are coming out of these cameras, you know, just to get more of like a visual. But yeah, I mean, this, hands down, this is the main stuff that's in my camera bag that I always have. And yeah, keep leaving comments. Let's start going into a few more questions, and then I want to talk a little bit about lighting one more time, because I know last week we had a whole live stream on lighting, and I just want to kind of recap how my lighting equipment relates to the lenses and, you know, the cameras that I am using. And I need a water break. Hold on. Okay. Is that 1, 2, 3 more?
3.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's get into some questions. Must have lighting setup for formals. Somebody wants a YouTube.
No.
Oh, you're saying, oh, Gigi's telling me I need to make a YouTube video. I have that one. Oh, yeah, so someone's asking, must have lighting setup for formals. So not to mention the live stream that we did last week, we actually, if you guys, you know, just go on our YouTube page, you'll be able to see the link where we talk about the lighting setup for formals. If you want to see close-up shots, you'll see them right there. But pretty much for formals, I'm doing a 2-light setup, one in the front, another light in the back, just to kind of give like a nice rim light. And like I said, there's a full video on YouTube. I would highly recommend watching that one, so this way you can see it like up close and personal. Next question, what do you think of LED panel lights for wedding portraits? Yeah, totally. I use, G, if you don't mind, or John, can you go in that box really quick? I have that calmer light in there. The LED panel lights for weddings, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done a lot of formals also where I didn't necessarily want to use lighting equipment, so I ended up just using like little LED lights, and to be honest, they look great. I mean, one thing that I love about LED, it's okay, John. One thing that I love about like LED lighting and, you know, just like kind of like that continuous light is the fact that you can literally see the light on the subject as you're shooting it, which is also a reason as to why I love Sony, because, you know, because it's mirrorless, you're literally seeing like as you're adjusting your f-stop, or as you're adjusting your shutter speed, or as you're adjusting any single camera setting on this, you're literally seeing in the viewfinder your image changing. So when you do take a shot, it's going to be exactly what you're seeing in camera. So yeah, so definitely using LED lights, I love it. I mean, I definitely think that's more for obviously like an indoor situation. I wouldn't necessarily use it outdoor unless it's super bright and you can control the amount of light pumping out to it, because outdoor, I mean, you'd be at that point competing with the sun. But yeah, I mean, I love it, definitely, for sure. Next question, do you ever use a fisheye lens? I don't use a fisheye lens. Don't have anything wrong with it, it's just not my personal style, I prefer using like more like 16-35 if I want something wide. The fisheye definitely creates like a really cool effect. Just not my style, but I think it's cool. What's the best way you market your work? That's a really good question. You know, everything for us, we actually are pretty referral, we're pretty much referral based. So we don't actually do that much advertising, although Gigi and I are actually in a digital marketing class right now. So who knows, maybe one of the upcoming live streams I can talk to you guys about everything we learned, you know, from this program, because one of the things that we're seeing is like from advertising on like Facebook and Instagram, that's really the best way to reach your target client. So it's definitely something that, you know, to market your work to clients, you have to be doing. So if you're somebody that, you know, needs to book more clients, your best way to do it is going to be doing it using Facebook and putting ads out on Facebook or on Instagram. Just because, you know, the algorithm is just so specific now. I mean, you can literally target whatever client you're looking for through Facebook advertising. And by Facebook, I mean Facebook and Instagram, because they're the same company. You can literally target anybody. So really, like, if you want to market yourself and get more people to, whether if you're marketing yourself for brand awareness or, you know, you want to book more clients, I mean, that's really your best way to go, for sure. And I think that would also be a really good video. Like I said, maybe coming up, we can do, you know, something on digital marketing and, you know, how we kind of market our, you know, services digitally would probably be a really good video. What are your 3 favorite cameras of all time? That would be from my dad. My dad asked that question. My 3 favorite cameras of all time, I would say number 1 would definitely be the Sony A9 camera, just because I love, you know, how it looks in low light. Number 2 would be the AR7 III. Because truthfully, like I said, the high megapixel guys, like for me, I'm really big on like the formals of a wedding. Like I want to have spectacular photos of, you know, the photos with a couple, the photo with their wedding party. Like I want high resolution shots. So that would be my 2nd favorite camera. And then the 3rd favorite, I'll give it to Nikon. I really did love the experience I had when we were shooting with like the D5, you know, before we ended up switching over to Sony. Just because I mean, Nikon has always been really great with their cameras and ISO, so that would probably for sure be my third favorite. And yeah, guys, really enjoying the live stream. So definitely, if you have any other questions, leave a comment below. Are there any more coming in? Do you guys have any other questions? I'm really enjoying this. Do we get everybody from Facebook too?
Yeah.
As well, Facebook, Instagram. Thanks guys for watching. I'm glad you guys are really enjoying, you know, these live streams. You know, we want to keep doing them every single week. Coming up, we're trying to decide for next week which live stream we should do. So I think after this, we'll put up a vote sometime tomorrow. So this way you guys can vote what you want to know. I know we've talked a lot about editing. Maybe next week's tutorial could even be something where we do like a live tutorial. So right now I'm showing you my stuff. Last week we learned about lighting. This week, you know, we're talking cameras and lenses. So I think maybe going into next week, maybe we do some kind of live tutorial where I'm showing you literally, you know, maybe taking the shot and, you know, showing you what that shot looks like you know, there. So, you know, let me know what you guys think, what you want to see. The more comments you leave, the more that we know what to do next. These videos, we're uploading them on YouTube, recap videos, so it'll probably be up sometime tomorrow. As soon as it is, I'll definitely put it in our Instagram story as a swipe up so you guys can see. Also on the blog, you know, gee, it's up right now? Mm-hmm. On the blog, it's up. So if you want to go on there, you can see links to every single thing that we talked about here today. Gee, I don't know if she did it already, but we also will add my camera straps in there. You did? Okay, see, the team, everybody's hustling over here for you guys. The camera straps that I'm using are in there. And yeah, we got another question in. So guys, just kind of write in your final questions. What's your favorite portrait lens? Ooh, I would say favorite portrait lens would have to be like an 85mm or 50mm f1.4. Anything that I can really, not that I can blur the background and just add more depth to the image for like a portrait is definitely go to like money shot for sure. On a second side to portrait lenses, I do really love using like the 16 to 35 if I'm in a space where I really want to show off the area that we're in, like that photo that we posted recently of like the New York city shot. We want to be able to show off the environment as well. So to me, on like another extreme side would be like the 16 to 35, hands down, love it, favorite. G's writing down some more questions on the board. Yeah, so I hope you guys are enjoying this. We definitely are here at our studio. And yeah, like I guess, like I said, leave some comments below, DM me what you guys want to see next. So this way we can, keep, doing the live streams going. Last question, should I have clients pay for travel for destination weddings? Definitely. Do not pay for the travel for your destination weddings because it's definitely just going to come right out of your pocket. Maybe one episode coming up, another great idea. We can talk about destination weddings, how to do them, how I pack my equipment as well for it, because you have to have a whole system, especially if you're, traveling out of country, things that you want to know there. But yeah, I mean, 100% definitely like make your clients pay. If you're doing a destination wedding, they should be at minimum paying for your flight or transportation if you're driving. They should be paying for your hotel. And they should also be paying for, like your food. I mean, that's just like basic, standards. So it's something that, in some cases we'll either, pay for it ourselves and then just, bill the client after the wedding. Or if you want to just, pay for, have them pay for and reserve like the flight and the hotel for you in advance, you can also do that too. And just invoice them for like food or whatever else later. But yeah, definitely, for sure. Great question. I like that one. That was a good one. All right, I think we're solid, right, G?
Yeah.
John?
Saying that they love it, appreciate the live stream.
Awesome, guys. Okay, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. We're definitely enjoying doing the live streams too. So check back next week, Thursday. We're going to be doing another one. Tomorrow, we'll do a vote. So this way you guys can vote what we're going to discuss next week. So we'll give you guys some options. Yeah, and if you have any other questions, send me a DM. Leave a comment on my latest post and I'll go on and respond when we, kind of hang up here. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. I think there's like some new features on Instagram where we can like have someone join in on the live chat. So maybe that's something that we can try and test out, sometime next week. G's writing down like another question. But yeah, guys, really enjoying it. Again, all the links are up on the blog, so feel free to head over there and see a close-up shot of everything that I'm using equipment-wise, cameras and lenses. People are asking for a live stream for editing. Definitely love that one. So maybe we can do editing next. Maybe we can do another one on digital marketing for your business. Maybe we can do another one on just life. I don't know, running a photography business. There's so much still to cover. So definitely appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great evening. And yeah, we'll see you next week.